Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome back to Flashback Friday, where today we're going to play Silkolene Honda Motocross GP, a PC game that came out in, as far as I can tell, 1999. It looks like it was maybe published in the USA in 2001. And this game is, to me, like a little bit near and dear to the heart, because I remember getting this game and playing a ton of it on PC, which obviously, like, in this era, PC gaming wasn't a big deal like it is now. Most people played console games. Motocross Madness also got me into PC gaming, but this one was one of those games where I just somehow gravitated to and played it a lot. So let's kind of take you through a couple of the things that are interesting about this game. First off, there's some real characters in this game because the Silkolene Honda Motocross team was associated with this game, but there's also just random close names, but not actual named people, like Maurizio Vuillemin, which I believe is supposed to mimic David Vuillemin to some degree. And then there's also somewhere a little further down, we have Alessio Chioli, where Alessio Chiodi was the world champion in 98 and 99, I believe, on a 125. There's 125, 500, and 250cc bikes. There's another one, Pit Byers, which is Pit Byer, who you guys know now is the head of motorsport for KTM, I think is what his name is. And then there's just a lot of, interesting names throughout. We're going to be Bob Daub today, though, which I think is supposed to be a take on Jamie Daub. And then here's just some of the tracks that were available. So you have Austria, you have Japan, you have the USA race, which is actually in a stadium, so they mimicked it being like Supercross, which is kind of funny. The 1999 season that I think this is kind of supposed to be modeled off of to some degree ended in the USA, but at Budds Creek. So they didn't include Budds Creek in this game. They didn't include any real tracks. These are all just random tracks that they made. Like, England wasn't this weird look. Germany wasn't that. Italy was at Majora, so they tried to mimic some hills, I guess, but obviously it wasn't exactly that. The Holland track was, Belgium was Nizmez or whatever it was called this year. Muddy pebble track wasn't a sand track. The Indonesia track was sand. They have France. They just have a ton. Spain, Talavera de Reina was Spain that year, but obviously that's not Talavera. And then back to Austria. So let's just kind of play some of these tracks. Like let's do like a maybe a smaller one so that we're not doing like a huge lap. We'll start with Holland here. Mud, medium, sun. And also the coolest thing about this game, in my opinion at least, my humble opinion, is this game was the first game that I can ever remember that had more or less full gates. 20 riders on the gate. And yeah, the AI in this game were no joke, honestly. Like they made you work for it. The game looks very European, all the styles of the jerseys and the bikes and stuff like that, very European. But like seriously, I feel like, they had dust kick up, the AI raced you pretty hard, you could fall off the bike and actually crash, you could spin the bike around, you could actually control the bike in the air a little bit too, which for this time was pretty wild. Like I said, 1999, there wasn't really like whip physics in games or anything like that. And even most of the console games that we had in the next, handful of years didn't really have much of that. It had tricks. We started getting tricks in console games, but definitely not like whip physics or anything like that. But you could kind of throw the bike around a little bit in this game. And like I said, the AI was tough, man. They made you work for it. And as far as I remember as well, this is also the first game that I can ever remember that you could do 30-minute motos. You could actually do 40-minute motos in this game. So you could literally just do a full, gnarly, long play of these races. Obviously, there's not like terrain deformation. There's nothing really, crazy like that. You could jump off the track and go down. But 40-minute motos, like that was also just what felt like unheard of, especially when it came to like any console game, which was like, it's a 3-lap race and who's going to get to the finish line first and stuff like that. So, and there's nothing wrong with those types of games. Like I love those games and I grew up playing them, but this is one of those where I just went back and playing it again just brought back so many memories of being, 9-10 years old playing this game, summer school, just summertime, wake up in the morning and come downstairs and put this one on the PC and shred some motos and stuff like that. Definitely a fun time for sure. So honestly, what's interesting about this time too is I really didn't get into MXGP racing until probably another handful of years after this. Like I knew it existed, but I didn't really pay that much attention to it compared to Supercross and Motocross. So I'm actually kind of curious for anybody that maybe was around when this game came out that is European, that is an MXGP fan of some kind. How did this game, stack up for you guys? What was the feeling like in Europe to have a game that was to a degree like the World Championship and had some real riders or somewhat looking like real riders, real bikes, a full championship you could play, a lot of different unique tracks. Just kind of like all across the board. Honestly, this game reminds me a lot of a game Formula One had around this time called Grand Prix, where the aesthetics of it was there's a race time, there's laps, there's a speed and a leaderboard, and then you just go race. And was it the most realistic game ever? No, I guess not really, but it was pretty damn sick. And this one felt a lot like that as well, just the aesthetics overall and how you played this game and all that stuff like that. So yeah, if you had played this game around this time, let me know, because I'm genuinely curious what the GP fans of this era felt like to have a video game that looked and felt like this. So I'm kind of sucking on this track. Let's go check out a different track. I think Japan actually had some cool jumps on it, so let's go over there. All right, to Japan we go. And again, I don't think that this is modeled after any specific track in Japan or anything like that. It's got a grandstand, so it almost feels like kind of an outdoorsy type race with Supercross elements. But I do feel like I remember this one being pretty jumpy. Yeah, honestly, it's got some rhythm jumps, and you can see everyone getting stacked up. How about the dust, man? The dust is gnarly in this game. And I vaguely remember first person being an option in this game, but I can't seem to remember what keyboard input that is. And in case you're wondering, I am playing on keyboard, which is why it honestly probably looks as bad as it does. Wow, why is my camera doing this? This is unique. What's going on here? I'm stuck now too. Oh, I'm going through the ground. I'm stuck. My camera was bugged out. Interesting. All right, let's see if we can kind of catch up to the field. I remember this game just being really tough though, because the bounce physics were challenging to predict. Sometimes you'd hit a bump and really bounce far, and sometimes you just settle into a corner no problem. And you would often crash by just making a tiny little mistake and jumping into the banners. So let's see if we can kind of run the field down just a little bit. Got a double here and a single there, and then it's just bouncing all the way up the hill. Back and forth we go. But yeah, is it the coolest moto game of all time? No, but I mean, for its time, it kind of stuck out, I feel like, a little bit for some of the cool things that it had to offer in the game. And this specific developer, which I think is called Dawn Interactive, also had a Supercross game come out a little bit after this, and I'm drawing a blank on the name of it. I think it's called Supercross World or something. So that's another game we'll definitely check out and dig into. But yeah, they kind of had a couple games, and they were published by, I think, a company called Midas, and then they were gone after that. So kind of a little interesting how that all works. You have a little random game company publish a game that some of us will fondly remember for decades, and then they just disappear off the face of the earth. But maybe if a developer of this game comes across this video, hopefully you guys know that for me at least, this was definitely a little bit of a staple in my childhood to play this game and shred it. Also, what system did you guys play it on? Windows 98? I think it's compatible Windows 95, 98, and Vista, maybe? Somewhere around that. Windows 2002, I think, would have probably also worked. That's probably actually what I played it on, Windows 2000. Man, I'm just dragging down through this section. Why is the bike going nowhere? Did I damage it? You can damage the bike, but I don't remember how or why. So maybe I did some damage to the machine. Just not able to catch up to the back of the field, though. They're just walking away from me. Finally found a little bit of flow, but they're just fast enough, which is what I remember about this game, too. In a time where AI was either oddly hyper-competitive and impossible or really, really easy and boring, this game stood out as man, even if you're riding really good, the AI is going to make you work for it. And still haven't even caught up to the back of the group here 3 laps in, so haven't crashed, haven't made a ton of mistakes necessarily, but they're still just absolutely cooking me. No problem. Pit Beers out front of Igor Sarvel and Sam Moore. Alessio Chioli hanging out in there. It's funny the names that they had. I'm going to do one more lap, and then I did want to show you guys the American track at least, just because I feel like most people that watch this video will be from the USA, and I want to show you guys what they thought of Supercross. So actually, now that I'm stuck again and losing more time, let's jump over to do some Supercross, shall we? All right, so this is what they thought Supercross looked like in 1999, allegedly. Honestly, to be fair, this would actually not look like that bad of a Supercross track if it was a Supercross track from like the 80s, but certainly by 1999 or late 90s, if you just want to say that's when this game eventually came out, Supercross didn't look exactly like this. It was much more rhythmic. Jeremy McGrath had been winning titles for a long time by this point. Oh, we're just taking people with us. Just murdered the AI. Oh, and we're jumping off the track. I guess you can double that. We're riding here as Joachim Karlsson of the Silkolene Honda team. We're jumping off the track again. But yeah, like it's not Supercross. It really isn't. It's basically like stadium motocross, which whatever. Like they're trying to mimic the USA to a degree, and so stadium motocross doesn't really sound all that bad when you're like, hey, let's have a USGP in 1999. But of course, like I said, it was at Budds Creek, so it didn't look like this. But again, for this era and a game like this, I just don't feel like it looks all that bad. It's honestly kind of impressive now going back and playing this that it isn't more pixelated and stuff. Like I found a way with this emulator that I'm playing on to like kind of upscale it a little bit and stuff, but even so, like you would think upscaling it wouldn't make it look amazingly much better, and I feel like the lines are pretty good, and the ground textures actually kind of look maybe even better than some stuff in MX Simulator somehow, which is weird for a game that came out a decade before it. Oh, I don't know how I landed that. Can we double this? Oh, coming up a little bit short. And then don't jump off the track. Okay. Quad this into the whoops. Oh, man. The nostalgia factor of this game, though, for me is high for sure. I'm nostalgic about so many moto games because I just grew up playing so many of them, to be honest. But for whatever reason, this one just stuck out in my head, and I'm like, you know what? I got to go back and revisit it and just see, what it was like. What was I playing all those years ago? Getting up there in the age now, I guess, because if I was playing this in early 2000s, yeah, a lot of you guys probably weren't born, or if you were, you definitely weren't playing games like this. So yeah, very interesting to go back and play this. Fun times though, and definitely a game that I would like to do a little bit more on. Honestly, maybe we do something like a full 40-minute moto on one of these games at some point, and see how we fare and see if we have any fun at all, because it's honestly pretty tough with the keyboard. Like I'm playing on keyboard, and it's low-key difficult to not make a ton of mistakes because you're just like constantly feathering right, left, trying to stand the bike back up and not run into people, because if you run into people, you get stuck on them like this. But we actually made up some passes. We got up into 16th from dead last year, but now we're going to be spun back the wrong way, spin it around, block past some people. It's all chaos here. But yeah, this was Silkolene Honda Motocross GP, released by Dawn Interactive and Midas in 1999 or 2000 or 2001, depends on, I guess, where you were in the world at the time of publishing. Yeah, let me know if you guys like this one, and if you want to see more of it, happy to do some more of it for sure. And appreciate you guys stopping by and watching another video here on Start Your Systems. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, always get down in the comment section below. Happy to jump down there and chat with y'all. That's going to do it for Flashback Friday. We'll see you guys next week for some more fun. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll see you later. So long for now.